Okay, so we are up to Mishlei 1317. Before I forget, not sure whether I'm going to have shiur next week. Next week is Shushan Purim, and it's also a busy week that I have to go away for at the end of the week. So I might not have time for shiur. So let's assume there's no shiur. Yeah, I think I'll err on the side of no shiur. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so Malach Rasha Yipol Bara Vitzir Emunim Marpeh. Okay, and I got the translations of the last three words here in case you need, but anyone want to give it a shot? And the first half is actually harder than you think. So what do you say? I think I
Um,
people. Yeah, go ahead.
and a an evil angel.
Okay, so let's see here. All right, what's the word malach does not mean angel though, right? We use it for angel, but what does the word malach mean?
Messenger.
Messenger. Okay, right. So an evil, let's actually use it a little bit broader, agent. Okay, because really malach comes from malacha, which means someone who does stuff. Okay, messenger to me implies like you're conveying a message. So an evil messenger. All right. So here's the thing. All right, this is what makes it difficult. Okay,
No, you said agent, an evil agent.
an evil agent. Yeah. Uh. Okay. So
Yeah.
an evil. Thank you. Yeah. An evil. So one translation is an evil agent. Okay. But there are two other ways. Even if you have evil and agent, hold on a second. Two other ways? No. There's one other way to translate that. An evil agent
Agent of evil.
or an agent
Yeah.
an agent of an evil person. Okay. So in other words, it is a oh, actually, hold on just a second here. So I guess the question is it an adjective describing the agent, or is it a noun? And this is a malach of a Russia. So I don't know enough grammar to weigh in on this. I did see that the Rav Moshe Kimchi, who is a professional grammarian, I think Moshe Kimchi, yeah, says that imhu malach bekamatz haya Russia toarlo. So if it was a Russia, if the word malach has a kamatz, then Russia is a description of it. Okay, I don't know what he's saying there, but if anyone knows it, then tell me. Okay, fine. Okay, so malach Russia yipol bara. Go ahead.
Yeah, it will fall in evil.
Yeah, fall in or into. Yeah, let's just say yeah, you know what? Okay, this is the other ambiguity here, right? Is Ra means either evil, bad, or harm, right? Okay. Vitzir emunim marpeh. So tzir, you have the translation here. Which one
Right.
of these do you think it is?
And a messenger of the faithful people.
Okay, yeah. So
Will
and
be
I'm gonna go
healed.
ahead and just use the word envoy so we don't use the same word. Actually, no, messenger is actually good. Okay, so because we didn't use messenger. And a messenger of the faithful, right? Is that what you said? Yeah, of the faithful. Hold on a second. The faithful, marpe.
Will heal.
Yeah, heals. Okay. Yeah, so present tense. Okay, so let's go here. All right, let's look at our minimalist commentators here. So we have Mitsudas Tion says Malach is inyan shliach. Malach is an agent. Kamo Malach shiluach alehem, and Seer is gam hu inyan shliach. Okay, so he says that both of them have the same meaning, and that's typical Mitsudas Tion, who says that these are synonyms. Okay, so let's just leave it at that. Okay, Targum Rav Sadigon says Hashaliach harasha yipol bara. The evil agent will fall into Ra. V'hatzir hane'eman marpeh, but the trustworthy messenger heals. Okay, so he makes both of these as descriptions of the agent or the messenger. Okay, so that's Sadigon. Targum, I don't think I know enough Hebrew or Aramaic to say Shlicha Bisha Yipel Bevishta V'izgada Mehimna Asyahu. Okay, so I think the way I would translate that is an agent of, yeah, I don't know if that's an adjective or a noun. Yeah, I'm just gonna ignore this. I don't want to guess at this. And I think either way it comes out, it's gonna be what we've said. Okay. And then one thing also, the Malbim, if you want to assume that Malach and Atzir are two different things, he says, hold on, I'm gonna go ahead and say Tzir. All right, so they say let's go tzir like this. Okay, so he says malach v'tzir hatzir mechuyev lahashiv teshuva. So he says a tzir is obligated to bring a response. And I was trying to think. I don't know if there's a good English word that captures the idea that like when we say messenger, I think of someone who has to deliver a message, but I don't know what we call someone in English who like goes and gets an answer. So if you could think of a word that's good for that, then let me know. Yeah, Isaiah?
I feel like I don't know never seen this word seer.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there are any like recognizable places that the word is used.
Good question. Let's check. Hold on. Yeah, the only other place I know it from is Mishlei, and in another pasuk in Mishlei where it uses it as hinge. But that's clearly not what it means here. So let's see. And the other way I know it is in Rabbinic Hebrew. I think it means brine, which is not what it means here. Okay, let's see here. Mishlei 13. Let me make this a little bit bigger. 13:17. Okay, seer is also used. Oh my. Okay, hold on there. It doesn't even list the Mishlei one. Why doesn't it list the Mishlei? That's strange. It says in Tehillim. Oh, and that's not even a ksiv. Okay, and then in Yechezkel or Yeshayahu, Harashet Sirim. Let's just see what the meforshim say there. 45. 45:16. Let's just see what the English says. Verily, you are a God that hides yourself, O God of Israel, the Savior. They shall be ashamed, yes, confounded, all of them. The makers of idols shall go in confusion. What? Am I reading the right one? Harashet Sirim. That must be from like Surah, like idol. Sirim. Yeah, that's not even related. Okay, I have no idea. So let's just check the old dictionary. No, so yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, no clue here, Isaiah. So good methodological move, but not helping us in this case. Okay. Art Scroll says the agent of a wicked person will fall into evil, but the emissary is a nice one, of the faithful will bring healing.
Dang it, that was the word I was gonna say.
Yeah, okay, nice. And then a altar says, there's no reverse, by the way. Altar says a wicked messenger falls into harm, but a trusty envoy brings healing, or literally is healing. Okay. So let's say heals. Let's just go like this. Marpe, okay, which is either heals or brings healing or is healing. Okay. And I wanted to look one more place just for kicks. Because we have not had a third English translation. So let's look at this. Sometimes doesn't work, but let's look at the secret All Torah site and look at the Septuagint. Oh my goodness. A rash king shall fall into mischief, but a wise messenger shall deliver him. Okay, that's too different for us to consider. So, nah. Yeah, Isaiah?
So I noticed in our translation that we put a messenger of the faithful, but I feel like it's maybe like a faithful messenger. Like are they both?
Oh yeah, so let me just actually incorporate this. Yeah, I just went with what you said, and I think the plain shot is because tzir is singular and emunim is plural. Then it sounds like messenger of the faithful. So I'm gonna go ahead and tzir. Okay, so tzir emunim. Okay, so this is either a faithful, I was like a messenger of the faithful, or a faithful messenger. You know, I think this is one of these pesukim where, is it going to be clear if I put this vertically? Hold on a second. Okay. Malach Rasha. Let me, you know what? I'll do that later while we're thinking of questions. Okay. Let me copy and paste this into the chat. And then we'll start listing our questions. Okay, there's that. And then let's get these guys. I'll keep all of them up here. Okay, first one up is my dad.
So this came up when you quoted the Septuagint. I thought Malach was king.
Oh, you're thinking of Melech. Yeah. So that's probably
the
where.
vowels are only different, right?
No, it's actually a different letter.
Okay.
There's an aleph. Yeah, but that is probably where the Septuagint got it from. I didn't actually think about that, but that's probably where it got it from.
Okay.
You know, some error along the way. Yeah. Okay, Isaiah or David or Mango.
Methodology question from
Yeah.
Mango. If you're going to take, because we have twice that there's either being describing the messenger or it's like the messenger of something. Do you need to keep it consistent as you split the two halves?
Good question. So I think you can make an argument both ways, right? You could say that it is going to be a closer opposite if it is parallel. But then the other way, hold on a second, I'm just reading. I think I saw something in a book that answers this. Oh man, I read a lot of books for Shabbos. Hold on, let me just think where I found it. All right, I'm not gonna be able to find it right now. The other way to say it though is that or the other way to take it is that if it intentionally deviates, then that's probably a sign that that's the correct reading. You know, so the fact that this says plural, would already indicate that these things are not symmetrical. You know, and so so that it'll make our job more difficult, but it seems intentional. Yeah, I wish I knew enough about the nikudos, about the vowels, to know whether we could infer from here. But I'm going to go ahead and take the fact that Alter knows grammar and our school knows grammar, so I'm assuming that this is actually a legitimate ambiguity. Wicked person or a agent of a wicked person or a wicked messenger.
So so you are saying that both are possible and it's possible.
Both are possible, yeah.
Okay,
I think you
so
can make an argument methodologically both ways. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
It almost reminds me of what Rabbi Moskowitz used to say about, like, if you have an easy way to read the pasuk or a difficult way, then you should go with the difficult way because it's more fun. And what he meant by it's more fun, he meant two things. He meant that it's more fun to think about, but also you usually get a more creative idea from that. So that was what his answer would be. Yeah, Rivki.
So I have two questions. The first is, what are the significant differences between a Malach Rasha and the Tzir?
Okay.
And then the second one is,
so what I want to do is I want to make that into a definition question. And I'm going to ask it in a weird way, which is, what kind of Malach or Tzir are we talking about? Okay, and what situation or what scenario? Okay, meaning you can send agents for literally almost everything. So what scenario is it? And then are they the same thing? Okay, I think that covers the definitions. And then within your question, let's just I'm going to try to keep it broad here, which is, how does the word Russia qualify Malach? Okay, and then how does the word Emunim qualify Seer? Yeah. And what's your second question?
yeah, I like that. I wasn't thinking of the 2 and 3, but I think that it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, yeah.
And my other question was the audience question, but specifically, I find this pasuk to be really interesting because, first of all, I don't really see who the consequences are for, because I was thinking of a messenger as for if I sent I don't know, if I sent someone to do something, I also know halakhically then it really falls on me. So I'm just wondering is it speaking about the consequences for the actual messenger or for the person?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I think I will put it in that way. Who is the audience? And then who are the consequences and benefits for? Yeah. And those answers don't have to be the same thing. You could say that if the malach, let's say it is a bad malach, will fall into bad, but let's say the Mishlei is talking to the sender, or a malach, a bad malach will fall into bad, so don't be a bad malach, I think it could go both ways. Okay, yeah, Chizkiyahu. Glad to have you back.
Yeah. Yeah, are these the only two possible outcomes? And there's, I guess, two questions in this. One is that the only two ways that this can play out, either harm or healing? Is one question.
Okay.
And
You know what I
then
wanna
like, is
do?
there not like a neutral, like and I guess sort of within that question is that like, is it because they set out to do either harm or healing, or is it just a consequence of whatever they're actually trying to do?
Okay, so let's ask it like this. Why does the pasuk actually hold on a second. All right, I'm gonna actually just intuitively go with this question here, and then I'll put your questions as extensions of this. In what sense are falling into bad and healing opposites? Okay, and then I'll say like, are these results
Necessary.
binary,
Right.
or is there some sort of spectrum or middle ground? I think that kind of covers everything you're asking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not. Are you incorporating that into also? Is it like due to their? Is that their objective, or is that just a consequence? I guess is my other.
To me, that is a. So I think that question is included in like, what type of scenario are we talking about? And I think it is
Okay.
saying it's a consequence, you
Okay.
know. But that's my intuition here, especially because the falling into bad does not seem to be like that seems to be like an unintended consequence from his perspective, and he's trying to do something else, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in here also, which is, what's up with healing? Okay. And this is like a certain type of question in my mind that, like, for lack of a better, catchier way to say this is like a Mishlei multiple choice question. By that I mean, like, if I said, here's all the words in a pasuk except for the last word, which one do you think Shlomo Melech says in the last word in this pasuk? You would not choose healing, right? Like, healing is not something that you would associate with like agents and emissaries and sending stuff. So it's just like, what is that doing there? Which is kind of part of the question of what's the scenario. Okay, next is my mom. Assuming that she's near her computer. Yeah.
Thanks for stealing my question. My question was about healing.
Yeah.
It bothered me to use that verb because I never thought of evil having the possibility of healing it, but destroying it totally.
Yeah.
Or you don't want what is evil healed? What's the tail end of that?
Okay, so
Good.
I'm a little confused about you're asking about the healing, about the evil.
Correct. But when you said what's up with healing, what do you mean by that?
What I mean
up?
is when it says that the faithful emissary is healing or brings healing or or heals, like, what here, I'll make this into a separate question. Like, what does this mean, and why are we talking about healing in relation to emissaries and messengers?
Oh,
Okay,
I was thinking,
my
okay.
Amazon guy doesn't heal.
Okay. I just was bothered by the basic, how can you speak of evil and use a term that
That's why I feel like I'm not
healed?
understanding your question. Where evil healing is not being said in relation to evil here, right?
Oh,
Healing is in the second half, which is that a faithful messenger brings healing. So I don't know if I'm misunderstanding you, or if you're.
I'm misunderstanding myself.
Okay. All right. If you think of the question, then
Well, I would like, okay, given the whole sentence,
Mhm.
and I know that's too big a mouthful to swallow. The word healing bothers me if it's even in a sentence with evil.
Okay, yeah.
Because evil be healed? Can evil be resolved in some way that it becomes?
Okay, so that still I don't understand what you're saying, because it's not saying that evil heals. It's saying that an evil messenger falls into evil, but a trustworthy messenger heals. So it's not ascribing healing to the evil person at all.
Okay, so I guess that goes back to your question. What's up with healing? That's fine. Thanks for reading my mind and interpreting, my brain that's not even here. But thank you.
You're welcome. Ayala?
Okay, so my question is, in what sense are Malach, Russia, and Sir Munim opposites? Like
Okay.
specifically like Russia and Amunim, I would think that like Russia would be contrasted with like a tzaddik or something else.
Okay, that's good. In what sense are Malach, Russia, and Sir and Munim opposites? You would think that the opposite of Malach Russia is Malach Tzaddik, and that the opposite of Sir and Munim is Sir Ramai, right? A deceitful, right? Messenger. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Next is my dad, unless my mom has a separate question.
Okay,
Your hand is up.
someone have a question before me?
No, I think you're up. Yeah.
I'm confused about the word depole that was
Yeah.
translated as fall into. What does that mean, falling into
Okay.
evil or harm, as opposed to engaging in,
Okay, that's good. So what does fall into Ra mean? Okay, and let's just say, like, how does this play out in a cause and effect manner? Yeah. Yeah, it is strange. It's a strange word. Yeah. I mean, again, the picture here that you get is like you send a messenger and like he falls into a pothole or something like that, or he falls into a den of criminals, like it's just a weird verb to use. Yeah. Okay, Rifki.
Yeah, my question is on Ra and just what Ra means. Like, I'm thinking more like the Eo Gans. Like, does it fall into one of those? Is it a different type of Ra? Is it because of him? Or
Yeah. What does Ra mean here? Now, I am gonna go ahead and prejudice you by saying that, and this might go against the like what I told David. I think the fact that the second half says healing, I'm inclined to say that that Ra means harm, because that is the most direct opposite, and yeah, you could say that it means evil, but then you create two difficulties. One is that evil does not seem to be the opposite of healing, and secondly, like he's already in evil. He's already somehow associated with either he's evil or he's being sent by someone who's evil. So again, that's not an insurmountable problem, but like I'm just inclined, if you're gonna take one as your baseline, then take harm, I think, but it still is a good question. Yeah, Isaiah, David, Mango.
Yeah, we both have a question.
Okay.
So if you translate Malach Russia as an agent of evil, of an evil person, I guess. So then, why would they fall into evil? It's like an agent. I think of an agent of someone else is just like a third party. Like if you're carrying out a message, like why should you fall into evil from that? It seems like an innocent thing to do.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna tack that onto this question. What does fall into Ra mean? Especially if the agent himself is not evil, but is just being sent by an evil person. And like, yeah, obviously, if he's sending you to do evil, then that you are partaking of it. But like, just because you are sent by evil, like if I don't know, like if if Hitler orders groceries on Amazon, like I don't think that means that the Amazon guy is going to fall into evil. Even it might be that it's bad that he's serving someone who's evil, but like he's not going to fall into evil, I don't think.
He's way more likely to if people are trying to ambush Hitler. And I'm not even trying to be funny. Like I think, like practically.
That might be a pathway to an answer. Yeah, David.
Yeah, okay. My question was kind of exactly the same thing. I was just gonna word it as what happened to don't shoot the messenger. Like,
okay. Yeah.
I think we just generally do think that the messenger is like, I mean, I do think it is, at least it is incurious that it's talking specifically about the messenger here. Like, why don't we just say that a person who's doing Ra falls into harm and a person who's doing Amunim is healed?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and add the opposite one. Wait, so don't shoot the messenger means that don't blame the messenger, blame the guy who said him. And then you could also say halakhically, ein shliach ledvar avera, which means that if you are doing something bad, then it should be only on you and we should ignore the messenger. Like either way, like in other words, this gets to the heart of the question, which is that either way, like why do you need going with the reading of a messenger of an evil person, why do you need both those things? You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Chizkiah.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a little bit I don't know if confused, but like this contrast between this seemingly like reflexive verb, something just happens to him, to the
What you
well,
mean like passive verb?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where like he just something happens negative to him.
Yeah.
And the second part, it seems like if I'm understanding it, he is either doing the healing or something happens to others. You know,
Right.
healing happens to the situation, but not about him anymore.
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so I don't know how to word this question, which is also I'll just say why. Why is the consequence in the first half framed as a harm that will befall him, whereas the benefit in the second half is framed as something he does or is or brings about? Yeah. Okay. Ariel, you want to ask your question? The Rabbi Moskowitz question?
Yeah, what's the subject of the class?
What is the subject of this pasuk? Which in this case, I think that question is very much related to Rivki's question. Who's the audience? In fact, this time I actually am going to group it with that, even though I think it still should be asked, which is like, is this advice for messengers? Is this advice for people who are sending messengers? You know, is this like, is this about trustworthiness? I mean, what's the deal here? Okay, because you have another question that's left up from last time. Okay, all right. Let me copy these questions into the chat, and then we will start our thinking. I think we can get it into this time. Okay, here's the first set of questions, and here is the second. Oops, did I just delete the questions? Yes, I did. Here's the second set of questions. Let me just change the numbers here. 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so let us take our minute to think.
That's a question.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask grammatically, is there a particular, I guess, like bias or better way in terms of an evil agent or an agent of an evil person, and the same for the second half, or are they both kind of equal?
For the second half?
No, meaning like the first and second translation for like each character, because there's really two for each. So I'm just asking within each of them, so an evil agent or an agent of an evil person, because those are different. And then
Right.
for the tzir. So is there a particular bias toward like a better translation?
So I would say that messenger of the faithful is the way I would have read the pasuk, because faithful is plural, and messenger is singular. So here I would incline towards this. But again, you got Sadigon and Alter both saying that you could ignore the plural. Okay. Actually, let's ask that as a stylistic question. Okay. If Tzir Emunim means faithful emissary, then why is emunim pluralized? Okay, so I would prefer this. Okay, and then look, Moshe Kimchi says, wait, let me just read Moshe Kimchi again. No, where did he go? Moshe Kimchi, imhu malach b'kamatz hayarasha toar lo, atam malach shehu rasha. Okay, yeah, so he does seem to say that an agent of an evil person is he prefers that. So again, I'm sure we're going to see both ways. So you were just asking which one to prefer?
Yeah, like I was just wondering grammatically if there was a, like, not just like style wise, like just from the actual like grammar, if there was a better way.
Right, yeah. I mean, again, it seems like enough trustworthy people go both ways that we're good either way. But I think this is how I would take it.
Can I also ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just wondering if you translate it as agent of an evil person, do you also have to translate the second half as a messenger of the faithful?
That was kind of what Dovey was asking, and I wouldn't say you have to, but I'd say that it's smoother. Yeah, Rifki, I think that's actually another reason why I would go with agent of the evil person, because this to me seems clear that it's agent of the faithful. So I'd be inclined to think that the first one is agent of the evil person. But again, like I said to David, like you don't have to. Okay, let me just copy this 10th question into the chat.
Yeah, the harder one is the other one.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we start getting ideas, I mean, I think that just to talk out my how I'm approaching this, so without saying any ideas, I think like to me the strongest questions in that's dictating everything about my intuition is Rivki's question or Ayala's question. Whose question? I forgot about Russia and Emunim don't seem like opposites. Okay. Like why not Tzaddik? You know? So this that clues me into the fact that we're not just talking about like better to work for a tzaddik than a Russia, because it doesn't say tzaddik, you know? So that to me points to like a subject matter. And then separately, that healing is just so out of the blue that like that's pointing me to something. To me, those are the two things that are like moving my intuition. Okay. First up, Isaiah or David?
Or both.
Or both. Okay.
You want to first? Okay, fine. So I'm thinking of this as like translating it as like an agent of an evil person and I guess a messenger of a faithful person.
Yeah.
So I think when you're doing the will of an evil person, so they're going to send you into situations where when you arrive and carry out their will, then negative things are happening.
Right.
Like there are bad consequences to the thing that you're carrying out. And so that raw that they're causing is gonna like take you down. Like they send you into like, I don't know, a warren of criminals and then like, they attack you or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be sent into that kind of bad situation and they're gonna dispose of you. Like
Okay.
they're not necessarily expecting you to come back.
Okay.
Because they're sending you off for harm. They don't care about you.
Yeah.
But the messenger of someone who is like a faithful person, there's two things. One is that they're sending you to do something good. They're not like evil. So when you arrive, you're not going to fall into bad consequences. And they're also they care about you. So when they expect you to like come back and like they'll like look into how you're doing and not just like send you off like callously and not like hope that you are like not care about what happens to you. Like they care
Okay.
about their minions.
Okay, so I want to ask a separate question, and then I want to, in formulating your idea is very similar to my idea. So I want to talk out both of our ideas and see if they're two of them or not. Okay, so here's another question. Okay, actually, I'm going to tack this onto the question from before. Moreover, is it possible to have a trustworthy Russia? Okay. So I think you're answering that. Okay. So the first half, I think was almost exactly what I was saying or what I was going to say. So I'm just going to type it the way that I'm thinking about it. And you tell me if I'm intruding on your idea here. So the Mishleic Russia is someone whose like sole objective is his own power and glorification. Okay. For this reason, he is willing to do anything to anybody to get that goal. Therefore, he won't care about you as the messenger, and you will be utterly disposable. Okay. So far, is that the same as what you're saying, or is it different? Or
Yeah, but I would also say like he's sending you into a dangerous situation also.
Okay. Yeah. And it's even worse because I'm gonna say he's likely to send you into a bad situation. Okay, not that he's going to. And then the reason why I went with mine is this is certain. He certainly, everything he does is only for himself. Even if it does benefit you, ultimately it's only for himself. Whereas the situation is not necessarily going to be like he might benefit his henchmen, you know. But because the thing looming over everything is himself, then that's it. And I wanna give an example and plug a documentary that I've been obsessed with lately. So this is a documentary on Netflix. Netflix called hold on, Turning Point. Yeah, it's called Turning Point: The Bomb in the Cold War, and it is a history of like the Cold War basically, but starting from World War II and going and framing it like every episode begins with the current Putin versus Ukraine struggle, and it's basically trying to show how what's going on now is just the current chapter in this long war. And I gotta tell you something, Stalin was evil. You know, like when you look at and it's not just Stalin, but when you look at Stalin and Mao and these Rashaim, I mean, we say that the Russia like is willing to dispose of people. It is crazy, like the tens of millions of people that these Rashaim were just willing to just just send to their death or just kill for their own benefit. It's like insane, you know. Yeah, but obviously you don't need that extreme of an example. Okay, so that's for the Moloch Russia. Okay, now here's what I'm thinking for the second half, and again, you tell me if I'm projecting onto your idea. Okay, is that if it said tzaddik, okay, that the tzaddik like is going to heal, that would be obvious, okay, because the tzaddik is going to use his messengers to bring about healing results. So I don't think that would be a chiddush. But if someone is trustworthy, okay, if you have a trustworthy individual, that has to mean that they care about your well-being enough to not like knowingly put you into a situation where you're going to suffer harm, you know? So like obviously they can make a mistake, but I'm saying like what if you think about what it means to be trustworthy, like I can trust you, it means that they're not going to like lie and say that something is going to be good for you or something's going to not be bad for you if it really is, you know. So I think the chiddush, part of the chiddush is it's saying that like the quality, if you are a messenger, then it's not like you need to only be sent by people who are great people, but you need to be sent by people, make sure that you're being sent by people who you can trust to not put you in harm's way. Okay, so say what you were saying again, Isaiah, and tell me if that's
I guess what I was saying is like, I think pretty similar, but like that, because someone we saw earlier that like one of the people said like maybe the translation of shiur is like a messenger that is expected to return.
Yeah.
So I was thinking munim are like people who expect to like get their messengers back and like take care of them, and so that's what it means to like heal, is that they're going to like care for their like underlings, like they're you know not casting them aside, which is similar. I think pretty much what you were saying.
Okay, no, so I think that is a different idea though. I think because so let me actually, I'm going to split this into two. Okay, this is we'll call this the Malbim direction. Okay, who says that it is a messenger who is expected to come back. So in contrast, if this is a trustworthy person who is sending you on a mission and expecting you to return, they're going to be invested in you to a certain extent and won't put you into situations where you'll suffer harm. Okay, I've mentioned this fact before in Mishlei, but I think this is a difference between and yes, all slavery is bad, but there is slavery that's worse than other slavery. So in Virginia, the Virginian slave owners were very different than the slave owners in Barbados. And the philosophy was, in Virginia, you treated your slaves like a commodity, that you care for them and you use them and you want to keep them I mean, again, like obviously this is, we don't look at people like this, but you wouldn't just like work your ox to death because it'd be a bad investment. You know, you would want your animals to be healthy and cared for so that they could do the work, and that's how they related to their slaves. But in Barbados, the philosophy is you just take the slaves and you work them to death and just buy more, and then just work them to death and buy more. So it was a lot more brutal, you know. So there was no expectation of like return. Yeah, what I was saying is that the quality of trustworthiness in general implies a base level care about the other person, because if you didn't like have that, there'd be no reason not to lie. There would be no reason not to lie. So the chiddush is that the quality you should be looking for if you're hired as a messenger as an agent, I guess, is this someone I can trust? If so, even if they're not a tzaddik, they won't knowingly put me into harm's way. So I think that is a separate idea. Okay. David
Yeah.
also had an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I was working with the same translation but different idea.
Same translation with the agent of evil person and messenger.
Yes, agent of evil. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing that when you're an agent for someone, that you as a person and your mission are going to be two separate things. And I think that a person will develop into wanting to accomplish whatever they were set out to do. And I think that then will fall into evil and will heal. Both sound to me like processes where even if you start off like you're a totally good guy, and a person sends you off on a bad mission, and you're looking to make yourself successful in your mission, you will wind up looking to do the bad.
Okay.
And then in a similar way on emunim, then you work your way toward being more of a person of emunim.
Okay. So agents come to identify with the objectives and values of their senders. Okay. Even if they don't start out that way. So if you work for a Russia, you will start to identify with that Russia and their values, and it will corrupt you and eventually lead you to harm, and vice versa. Yeah. It's like a pun, vice versa. But I think also I think the not the problem with this, but I think the thing that doesn't quite fit is why emunim. Like this would fit really well if it was a tzaddik, you know? Yeah. Okay. But so I think that I'm just going to list that as a question here, which is why emunim instead of tzaddik. Okay, but if we can answer that, that's great. Okay, Rivki.
Okay, so I have two things. The first is I think in the Isaiah camp. So just like a few things to add, but it's not a whole idea because I was thinking very similarly to I think Isaiah's.
Yeah.
It was just like more to read it into like the words of the actual pasuk that I was thinking like you pull like it really like it shows that it's non-intentional. Like it's not that it's like if it was if it was just Russia, then we wouldn't use that word. So I think what it's really trying to say is like in this pasuk is teaching that if you're a person who's going to be a messenger, that you have to be aware that you might fall into this trap, even not trap, but you might fall into the raw, even if you're not intending to go and do that. So I think that's why it uses that word. And then another thing I was thinking was on the second half, for the healing aspect of it. Let me just remember what I was saying. Sorry. Oh, and I don't know if maybe Isaiah was literally saying this exact thing, but that in terms of the healing, that the person that's sending this type of messenger is going to have those positive intentions. But if he accidentally sends you into a scary or bad situation, you will end up being healed because he's going to be taking care of you.
Okay, that's good. No, that's a good addition there. And if the trustworthy person sends inadvertently inadvertently sends you into a bad situation, then he will look out for you, and what do you call it? And heal you. Yeah. I have an example of this, which I will wait until the end of shiur to share, I think. Yeah. It's not just not even a like not recording thing. I'll wait till the end of shiur. I thought of a point to add to David's. Okay, so this is like a good, I guess we don't have Noah here tonight. She really likes the literary things. Okay, but this is a good literary thing, which is David's whole idea is that if you are the malach of a Rasha, then you will become corrupted. So I think that explains the deliberate ambiguity. Okay, that if you are a malach of a Rasha, you will become a malach Rasha, meaning if you are an agent of evil person, you will become an evil agent. Okay. So let me just say literary bonus. This explains the ambiguity in the term malach Rasha, because if you start off as a malach for a Rasha, you will become a malach who is a Rasha. Yeah. Okay. And Rifki, do you have a second one, or those are your two things?
Yeah. So the other one was because I wanted to like push myself, because when Isaiah was saying the idea, I was like, oh, like I want to see if I can get anything else.
Yeah.
So the other one, and this I guess is just more like of a sounding board idea,
Yeah.
is I was thinking maybe that we could change the audience of the pasuk to be about someone who wants to send a messenger as opposed to like the messenger themselves.
Okay.
So that like I was taking it as agent, not agent, but the actual evil agent, and then the faithful messenger. So just to say that when you are looking for someone to do something for you, or to send a message, that you have to really make sure, because if they by nature are someone who is going to fall into raw, or like they're easily manipulated, or maybe they are just evil, then that consequence will be on you. So not only will obviously that person get the consequence, but more of like that halachic idea that you're going to have to deal with that consequence, that it's true, not just in halacha, but in real life also. Well, that's not the right way to say it, because halacha is real life, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what I mean. Yeah.
So yeah, and then the same thing for the second half, and then like kind of like the contrasting what their, I guess, actions will bring about, is that if you pick someone that's evil, that they're going to have bad consequences for you and for themselves. And if you pick someone that's faithful, not only is it going to be good for you, but it's also going to like be able to help other people with whatever they're going to send the message for. And that's why it uses like healing as opposed to raw or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the only I'm not rejecting the idea in the pasuk. I think that it's just the okay, this is bad methodology on my part. Okay. There are a couple other pesukim in Mishlei that say that exact idea. But about like the mistake of sending it's talking to someone who's sending an agent and saying that that it's going to end up working out badly for you. And let me just give you an example. This might have been one that I taught you in high school, but
You did, and I was thinking that, and I knew, I was like, oh no. But I feel like the healing though, because I feel like the healing would be where the actual
yeah.
chiddush,
So
which is what I was having trouble with.
The only thing that I'm I think this is the one I taught you. There's two of them, but Makate Raglaim Chama Shose Sholech Devarim Biad Ksil. That's like someone who cuts off his own legs and drinks rancor. Is someone who sends statements through a fool. So I think the only thing I'm reluctant to say here is if this is talking to the sender, you're saying it's telling him not to send a Rasha. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess what I'm saying, like where the chiddush would be that you won't necessarily know, like it's saying that you have to really, like, I guess, quote unquote, do a background check.
Okay. All right. I feel like that saves it. Okay. Okay. Because I was thinking like there's always a problem if the idea that you want to say is already a little forced, and then it seems like there's already another pasuk that says it, then that's a no-go for me. But if you're showing that that there is a chiddush here, so Rifki alternative, which is this is talking to the sender, saying that you need to do a background check, because the worst case scenario is that you might end up sending a Russia, and that will turn out really badly for you. And if you need any examples of that, just look for cases where institutions hire someone and they don't do a sufficient background check, and then that ends up being like very, very bad and scandalous for them, you know. Yeah. Okay. And the opposite of that, I think the opposite of that is, I'm gonna go ahead and put words in your mouth here, is the opposite is not that you need someone who is like morally great. You just need someone whose morality will not interfere with their trustworthiness, right? In other words, you know, if you're saying that this is directed to the sender, saying don't send a Russia and you should send someone who's trustworthy. I think that's why it says trustworthy. You don't need to send a tzaddik or even a chacham. You just need to send someone who follows instructions. And if you're sending them for a good reason, then you'll get healing results.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, good. All right, next is my dad.
So I went along, I agree with what David was presenting, and
Yeah.
I think to some degree, Rivka, I think the first half of the pasuk is a slippery slope argument that that
You're saying slippery slope like in a good way, not fallacy?
well, slippery slope in that when the agent becomes a messenger of the Russia,
Yeah,
even though the agent is not committing anything evil himself,
yeah,
he's formed a relationship now with an evil source.
right.
And the ultimate result of that is he's going to engage in evil himself.
Right.
That's what I mean by the
okay.
slippery
So I see. So simply by forming this relationship with an evil person, he will come to resemble that person. Yeah. Yeah. What do you say?
So then, you know, what do we do with the second half? I think the whole pasuk is talking about the threshold for help or harm.
Okay.
Okay, so the threshold in the first half is you're the messenger, but even if you form a relationship, the result can be painful, harmful.
Okay.
And if you're looking at the second part, you're the messenger from the faithful. You're not the faithful himself. You're just a messenger. Even the messenger can have benefits.
Okay. All right. That's good. I like that. Hold on a second. So the subject is threshold of harm and benefit. In the first half, simply by forming this relationship with an evil person, he will come to like, you know, to harm. Yeah. And
Engage
then
in harm.
to engage or suffer harm, right? I think both in or suffer harm. In the second half, it's saying that you said it really well. Say it one more time.
The messenger is having the benefit, is causing the benefit, not just the source of the messenger, but the messenger himself.
Okay, yeah. Is going to bring about because he's trustworthy.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is another thing that I'm not 100% sure about, because we're trying to go with the reading that it is a agent of trustworthy people. So why should the fact that they're trustworthy mean that you're gonna heal or bring about healing? Like if you're a tzaddik or if you're good, then you bring about healing. Why? I still feel like I have this.
So I'm thinking of the situation where, you know, I'm in the hospital after a serious operation.
Yeah.
Someone says to me, "Oh, you know, the governor really wants to wish you well. He hopes you have a speedy recovery."
Yeah.
And even someone once removed, the governor's once removed from the messenger and the person who's suffering, it still has a powerful effect. It has a healing effect. Is that too much of a stretch?
No, I just don't know if I understand it. We're saying here that the qualities in the pasuk are the qualities of the messenger. So if you are, the qualities of the sender. So if you are a neutral messenger, but you're being sent by a Russia, that relationship is going to lead to harm. That part I get.
Okay.
But if you are a agent of a trustworthy person, then that's going to bring about benefit. And what I'm not getting is just because you're trustworthy does not guarantee benefit in the same way as being evil guarantees harm.
I see your point. I see
Yeah.
your point. Okay.
So I like the threshold idea though. That idea is really appealing, and that strengthens the chiddush. But yeah, I think we still have this question here. I'm going to just add to this question a little bit, which is how does simply being trustworthy guarantee this beneficial result of healing? That's kind of why I was trying to
I would
say.
have liked if it said the messenger of the tzaddik, you know.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, and that's why, like, I was trying to say that, like, what benefit is intrinsic in someone who is trustworthy? Well, if they're trustworthy, then they are looking out for you, and then that's like that was what I was saying, and that was what I think what Isaiah was saying for the mob also. So that's how we were trying to solve it. But I like this approach in general, though. Okay, Chizkiyahu.
Yeah. Okay. So my focus is, I think, or at least I think this pasuk is focusing even more on the nature of the mission you're sent on than even the person who sent you on it. And so what I mean is, there is a difference between a private enterprise, that when you're working for somebody who has, and I was actually having this idea that, like, even before you gave the definition of a Rasha being someone who's, I don't know if you could you show me that definition really quick?
Yeah,
Just
the definition I gave is Mishlei Rasha is someone whose sole objective is his own power and glorification.
Right. So even before you said that, I was thinking of someone you're essentially deciding to work for, be contracted for, whatever, for somebody who has a private goal, something that they want to gain. Yeah. And that means that they're also taking a lot of risk, and so you, by extension, are going to be involved in that risk, because you're the one. Whereas when you're and then let's say something happens to you, something negative happens. Well, since all the risk was on him, and then you by extension is by being his malach, that's what happens. You fall into a harm. But when you are serving a mission that's, let's say, for the for the whole kahila, it is, and this is why it's not it's simunim and not necessarily tzaddikim.
Okay.
Is you are you're not working for a private enterprise, and even if you mess up, even if whatever happens, there's almost like a kapara afforded to you because of the kind of mission that you're being a malach for. And so those are the two different natures of missions that you could be a messenger for.
Okay, so let me just state this, and I'm going to state it in English just to make sure that everyone understands. So the first half you're saying is talking about someone who is who you're being an agent for in a private enterprise, and private enterprises carry risk, and the risk falls on the sender and on the people involved. Okay. And the second half is talking about
and that private enterprise has no other merit to it other than and this is the best case scenario. I am acknowledging that they do bring Rasha, because I think it's showing the further extreme of the fact that all the more so for if you're doing something a private enterprise that's evil, right, then all that can happen is that you are harmed without any without any
it's talking about the extreme, but really it is talking about a category of enterprise of a private one.
Right.
Whereas the second half is talking about if you're acting on behalf of the community, that has a certain well, first of all, they're not going to be able to take as many risks because it's the community, right? And you're working on behalf of the entire community that is, interested in each other's welfare. Now, I didn't follow you in terms of the atonement part.
Meaning even if you were to fail, they aren't gonna. You weren't doing this as as some sort of since you're gonna benefit, you got to give me some of your, you got to. It's not like a contractual thing where you're I'm benefiting from your private benefit. It's like, by the very fact that you're aligning yourself for the mission that's in a sense altruistic, I'll use that word for now. You're also, since you're free of that gain, you're also free of that risk. And in the same way, you could even go more like cosmic or whatever, that Hashem himself, he's like, let's say you do make some mistake, but you weren't setting out to benefit one person, very much likely at the cost of somebody else. That's not, so you're afforded a certain kind of leeway, atonement, you know, just like the community also wouldn't hold it against you. Like, all right, you were like I don't know, like it was like what's the thing? What's the thing? Pro bono, you know, it's like, okay, like we're not going to hold the same kind of ramifications against you if you failed us, because this wasn't that kind of arrangement in the first place. You were here to benefit the people.
Is that really true? I mean, I feel like if you are acting on behalf of the community, and they are trusting you to carry something out, and you let them down, I mean, if they're very, very nice, then they won't hold it against you.
I think in general, I'm saying, I think I'm not talking about anything crazy. I mean, like, okay, anytime
I feel
that I go,
you know,
like if I volunteer to do something for you versus you paying me to do it, you know, I definitely think that there is a difference in how much, like, if I mess up, you're not going to have the same expectation of punishment from me
okay,
or
so now
whatever.
so you are positing then that this is a different kind of agent, that the first one is someone who is like employing you, and the second one is you're doing it for free.
Yeah, I would. I wasn't. Yeah, I guess I could say that.
Because the reason,
I'm not. I don't know if it's necessarily for free, but even if the expenses and everything is covered, it's for the cause. It's not for you. So the first one, because it's private, you're also taking it on a private, like you're a private contractor, let's say. The second one, you're doing this for the community, and I guess you could say it's for free. Yeah.
Okay, because if it's not for free, because I think there's two problems here. Is if it's not for free, people do get mad, right? And look at any case where anyone hires anybody for a community, whether it's a school, whether it's a shul, whether it's
right.
It's
so okay, so for free.
Yeah, but then now you got a different problem, which is then it's talking about two separate cases.
Yeah. Why is that a problem?
Because then why is it in one pasuk?
Because they're explaining the differences between when you need to, like, the risk factor you can take is, okay, fine, there's more gain that I can get from a private case because I'm also like I'm also getting that benefit. I'm getting paid, but that's going to come with more risk. But if I'm working as like as a pro bono person, okay, and the kind of missions that I'm doing that for, I don't know, is for the community, then I'm also not going to necessarily, then that's a different kind of risk. And there I can consider, okay, fine, like I still want to do this, but if I fail, it's not going to come with the same level of retribution.
So I think there are two, I think I'm willing to put up with a certain number of like positive things, but I think there's too much being positive for the pasuk for me to like work it out. So I will continue to think about it, and
okay,
we can tweak it some more if something develops. Yeah, Ariel.
Okay, so I'm gonna translate Malach Russia as an evil agent.
Yeah.
And I'm going to also qualify the term Russia. I don't know. I'm gonna make a move, and I'm gonna say that it's evil insofar as it's not in line with the message that messenger wants to send out.
Okay, all right, I hear what you're saying. So
okay, because like, because by definition of Russia, like he's gonna do everything to undermine given authority, whatever that authority is.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good.
Or whatever, or whatever it's gonna try to convey. So
yeah.
So maybe you could say that, like, the scenario is like okay, here's a good example. Let's assume for a second Haman wasn't killed and Achashverosh sent out a letter saying the Jews can defend themselves. Now, if Haman's the messenger, okay, you can believe that, like, he's gonna distort the message.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever is now, my only challenge is, like, what does it mean that harm will befall him?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I thought I had an idea, but I forgot it.
Okay, so I'll tell you why I like your first move. I think your first move is good on its own, even if it doesn't play out, which is that you're also answering the question of how is Russia the opposite of emunim. So
I'm gonna get there.
The way that I was trying to answer it, and I think Isaiah was trying to answer it, is like, what emunim sounds like a morally neutral category. So we were trying to approach it by saying what good is there in the emunim that like can make it the opposite of Russia. But what you're saying is, no, emunim means trustworthy. Russia means not trustworthy. Like, he's not going to carry out your mission. It's a Russia. It's a a not trustworthy agent is an evil agent in terms of like agency. you know?
Yeah,
So it's a good mythological move.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I was thinking about the audience of the pasuk, and I was swaying back and forth between either the audience is for someone to pick out a you know, to vet a messenger, just like Rifki was saying, or the audience is for right, here we go.
Yeah,
Here we go. Here's
here's
the idea. Okay, now I know. Okay, meaning like this, the message itself doesn't necessarily have to be like an evil message or whatever message it is. It just the message is just something you're not like in line with. Like you don't value the message at all. I mean, no, not that you don't value it. You're like anti the message, right?
Okay.
And if you're anti the message, you're gonna be fall into harm. Meaning like the temptation is you're gonna have a temptation to undermine this guy. You're gonna either lie or cheat or do all these things to ruin your reputation and that guy's reputation, and you're just gonna create more issues, and that only because you just didn't like the guy's message, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether the message, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like purely evil,
right?
It could just be something you don't agree with. Like for instance, like I don't know, some leftists want to agree with Republicans, or Republicans want to agree with leftists. Like the fact that you like don't put yourself in a situation where it's gonna inherently tempt you to turning you into a bad person.
Okay, so you are saying that the advice is for the
both. I'm going to say it's for both. Okay, because
so tell me if this is. I'm going to try to state what I'm hearing from you, and tell me if this is good for the first half. Okay, which is that if an agent is expected to carry out a mission that he's not on board with, okay, even if the mission is not evil and he's not evil, that misalignment will often result in bad for him and for the sender. Let's just use an easy example, right? Like let's say you are planning a party, okay, and you take someone and you send them to go get party like decorations, and they don't like your idea about like how to decorate, so they just like buy these other decorations. So it's going to end up ruining your party, and it's also going to end up being bad for them because like they're the ones who like they won't have done their job. They're going to awaken your ill will. They're going to get the ill will of other people. So it's not that no one did evil in that case. It's just like that misalignment is no good. So choose someone who's like, on board with a mission.
Well, it's evil. Well, the question is, how do you define evil? Like evil in this specific case, it just means that you're not in line with what the guy wants to say, and in his eyes, it's evil,
contrary to the will of the sender.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, you wrote that there. All right, good. Yeah.
Right. And
okay, fine.
And then for the second half, you want to say the second half?
Yeah, the second half of the pasuk is, if you send a guy a faithful messenger, if he's in line with your idea, not only is he gonna do what you tell him to do, but he'll enhance what you're doing and make the situation even better.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, good. So not only is he going to do what you're going to say, but he'll make the situation better, which will work out for everyone. Okay, I really like this idea. Yeah. Okay, this is a good idea. Yeah, I really this is what I was hoping for. I mean, I like our other ideas also, but this is what I was hoping for with that question about the opposites. Right. This is why. Okay, this is really good methodology. Okay, this is also why you can't just plug in the same definitions that we always have, and that's why we always ask the same questions every time. In fact, we didn't ask what's the definition of Russia in this context, right? What is the definition of Russia in this context? Okay, so that's why it's important to ask this and to approach it fresh, because in my approach, I was just going with the standard Mishlei definition. But what Ariel did is we had this new question, which is these two don't seem like opposites. And then he answered the Russia question based on the subject matter. And then that's how we got this whole idea. That's really good.
Well, actually, I wasn't exactly my approach in defining the Russia this way. My challenge was like Malach Russia. It's not. It's like Like why? Meaning, like I don't know if this is like a right way of thinking about it in general, but like like usually like it would have just said Russia, like just don't send to Russia, But like here it's like I don't know. It's like once you qualify the Russia, then like I feel like there's more limited in cases.
I hear also, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. All right. Well, I still think even if you didn't intend the methodological point, I think it was a really good point. Yeah. Okay, nice. All right, very good. So let's, yeah.
Can
Who's
you
this?
summarize that idea, please?
Yeah, so the idea is like this, is the main idea is that Russia does not mean evil in this case, okay? It's talking about someone who is not in line. He's an evil as an agent, okay? And an agency, it is a binary thing. Either you are trustworthy, like in other words, you will carry out, what's the purpose of a malach is to carry out the will of the sender. So either you do that and you're trustworthy, or you don't do that and you're evil, okay? Like that's what evil is in terms of an agency, okay? Like if you hire someone to as your agent and like they misrepresent you, they're an evil agent. It's kind of like how in court, halacha uses the term tzaddik in Russia for either you get a good verdict or a bad verdict. Like it doesn't mean you're righteous and you're evil. It just means that you either like you're vindicated or you're guilty. So here what it's saying is you might think to yourself, so are they saying that this is advice for the one who is okay, I'm gonna go start with the one who's sending because I think it's easier here. Is that if you are choosing an agent to carry out your will, make sure that there's someone who's trustworthy, because if they're not, just the misalignment is going to create problems. That it's going to create problems for them, and it's going to create problems for you, and create problems for whatever you're trying to bring about. Whereas if they are trustworthy, meaning if they see your vision and they support it, then minimally you'll get what you want, but maximally they will carry it even further than you envision, and they'll do even more. So it's like that's the quality you're going to look for. And then similarly, if you are hired as an agent, okay, you need to make sure that you are aligned with the will of the sender. Because let's say like I am a let's use Ariel's example. Let's say like I am a I belong to one political party and I'm hired by someone from the other political party. I might think to myself like, okay, fine, well, I'll just do this job. But if my own morals and desires don't align with it, I'm going to end up messing things up even without realizing it, and that's going to create problems as well. Like that's why, like, you don't in cases where like you have you're in a job where you have clientele. Sometimes like the fact that you don't align well with the client's vision means you shouldn't take the job. Like don't think, oh, I can just force myself to do the job. No, if you don't align with them, you might end up messing stuff up, or not putting in the work, or like distorting things unintentionally, and that's going to be bad. And same thing is you should align yourself with someone who you could be a trustworthy agent for.
So can I ask a question on that? And maybe I'm just misunderstanding something, or maybe I don't maybe it's the bounds of what this applies to and what it doesn't. But are you saying here that in order for this to work, like trustworthy, the definition of trustworthy would have to be that you agree with like the values of whoever you're working under or sending?
Yeah, the main thing is that you agree with what they're sending you for. That you're on board with that shlichus, with that mission.
Okay.
It
So
doesn't have to
that
be
specifically, like it doesn't have to be like their entire philosophy.
no, it
like,
doesn't. Right? Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where I was getting.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah. I also want to just add another possibility here for Russia. So Ibn Ezra's definition of Russia from Tehillim 1:1 is one who is fickle or inconsistent or like easily swayed. Okay, so I think that also would fit into this, because if you have a person who's like wishy-washy and not trustworthy, then you could also run into this problem. Okay, and by the way, this might also be why it uses this weird word tzir, because tzir does mean hinge, and there is a certain imagery here of a trustworthy hinge, like you're totally dependable, like like attached to the mission or whatever. Okay, let's look at some meforshim here. Okay, we're not going to do a lot because it's already a little late. Okay, so Mitzus David says, Shliach Rasha, a bad agent, Hamashane Midivri Mishalcho Lara. That's interesting. Okay, who deviates from the instructions of the sender for bad. he will himself fall into that bad. But a messenger from trustworthy people, Yirape od es davar hashlichus, will further heal the mission he was sent on. Im yire b'davar chulsha mitzad ma chulsha ma mitzad ma. If he sees a weakness in the thing, he will heal it with his sweet language. Okay, so this is very similar to Ariel's, I think. He does say that he deviates from the instructions of the sender for bad, but I think the sentiment is the same here, which is that, like, you want to choose someone who is going to, no, never mind, message from trustworthy people. That's what I don't get. Scratch that. No, unless he means that the population you're pulling from is from trustworthy people. All right, in other words, yeah, meaning that if you can trust them to think on their feet, and to be on board with this, then they will fix things even if the wording is not correct. Like, let's say, for example, you have a really good secretary, right? And like, you say something and you say, oh, email so-and-so, and the secretary sees that, like, you're not saying it in the best way. So the secretary can change it in a way that is going to be like in line with what you're going to say, and you can trust that person to do what you want. Yeah, I think it's in the spirit of Ariel's, even though I think Ariel's is better. Okay, let's do Rבינו Yona. Malach Rashi Yupol Bra, Lefi Shedibra al Haksio Shemagala Es Maasav. You know what, let's do, hold on, just out of I had a really, really good experience with ChatGPT translating, well, some of you know about this, translating all 51 of Rabag's Tawalas. Let's just see how well it does. Rבינו Yona's commentary on Mishlei 13:17. Let's just see how well it does this, and I'll tweak it. I also had a very bizarre case where I tried to feed it. Oh, this is a weird thing. Okay, anyway, don't always trust ChatGPT. It was like it was possessed by a demon. Very, very strange. Okay, so let's just see how well it did here. All right, Rבינו Yona. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read it and translate it myself. Okay, so Lafisha Dibra al Ksio Shemagale Es Maasav. This speaks of a fool who reveals his actions. So anyway, since he spoke of a fool who reveals his actions, that was in the previous pasuk. The alpha pishem masim shadarchim hastiram, even though they are deeds that should be concealed, ulhalimam and hidden. Dibir al hamagalim sod. It specifically addresses those who reveal secrets. Virasam Rabba, whose evil is great. Yoser is greater. Lafisha mazikin lacherim, because they harm others. Upirit be'inyan hamagalim sod. It specifies someone who reveals a secret. V'hu hakasha shebekulan, because that's the worst of all of them. V'hu hashliach hamagalim sod. That's the shliach who reveals a secret. Shebatchu bo, that they trusted in him. Gam Shikur? No, Sachruhu, and they also paid him. V'yera be'inyan hashlichus gilui hasod gumul hamase. This is a difficult Rבינו Yona. Like, the language is very messed up. V'haficha al kain karu shlomo amelech al malach rasha. So I'll tell you what he's doing. He's also doing an Ariel type move, which is he's saying, in the context of an agent of those who trust you, what would be the Russia? The Russia of an agent who trusts you would be someone who davka reveals the things that you wanted to keep secret. Okay, that's like the movie's making. Okay, so I think that's also a good answer to our question about how these are opposites. Let's just finish this and see what happens. With Tziramunim hu hashlich hamachase sod k'inyan shenemar v'ish emunim mi yimtza. Okay, so he is saying it's a trustworthy witness, a trustworthy agent is one who conceals a secret. As it is stated, a trustworthy man who can find. Lo yichol. I don't think I was meant to highlight that. Lo yuchal liyashev hadvarim achi yu nishmaim le'inyan hashlichus ki yosif l'sakin shlichaso levad al kol mashi ziruhu hasholchem be'ein tzarich lamar ki lo yikalka be'inyan shlichus legalas kamase hamalach harasha. So in other words, he is going to liyashiv hadvarim ad shiyu nishmayim. I don't know. I need to check and see if this is a corrupt Rבינו Yona. My spidey sense is going off. It happens sometimes on the Alator version of Rבינו Yona specifically. All right, let me read this from my version here. Lefi shediber al ksil shemagalis masav, ve'afal pi shem hamasim shedarcham lahastir milhalimon diber al hamagalim sod. V'rasam rabba yoser lefi shemazikim lachim upered b'inyan hamagalis sod hakasha shebekulan v'hu hashlich hamagalis sod shebatchu bo gam sachor sacharuhu v'yera b'inyan hashlichus gilu yasod gumul hamase v'hahaficha. Al kain kara shlomo al shalom malach rasha v'amar ki lo yinake v'achariso yipol b'ra. Okay, fine. So that's the same. The tir emunim hu shliach hamachase sod. This is the shliach who conceals a secret. Kenich ne'amar v'ish emunim miyimta marpe. Yeah, this is different. Marpe le'inyan hashlichus. Supposed to say marpe. Marpe le'inyan hashlichus. Ki yosif l'sachin shlichus. It means that he will add in order to correct his shlichus. Levad al kolma shizhiruhu hashlochim. In addition to whatever the shlochim warn him for, ve'ein sarech lomar ki lo yikalkel b'inyan shlichus legalos kamase hamalach harasha. Yeah, so this is also very much like the Malbim, or like the Matzudas David, but he's saying it specifically regarding to delivering messages, and it's saying that you have to take someone who's trustworthy to not reveal secrets. And in other words, I think the mistake here is like this: is people think that they only look at, can this person deliver the message? But if you have a guy who's not trustworthy, and let's say that this like messenger guy is waiting for the message and he overhears a conversation, and you give him the message and he knows how to faithfully deliver the message, but then the people on the other end say, well, what was their tone? And he says, well, not only was their tone bad, but like they were like really like speaking badly about you, he might make things even worse. So you need to like see that, is this guy trustworthy in terms of being like keeping discretion, and similarly, you need to have that quality of doing everything in his power to make this message succeed. So this is the main idea here. Sorry, hold on a second here. Main idea is when choosing an agent, okay, don't just look at whether the agent is capable of delivering the message. Okay. Beyond that, look to see whether you can trust them to represent you in the best light, and not endanger your reputation or mission. Okay. The worst case is someone who will betray your secrets. And the best case is someone who will do everything they can to support your mission. Okay, that's good. Okay, so let's summarize what we have here. I think that's good for tonight. Okay, so we had one idea from Isaiah, which is that if you are a messenger for a Russia, then don't think he's going to have any of your interests in mind. He'll just use you right up and not care, and it will put you in harm's way or dispose of you, or take his own risks through you. Okay, you are utterly dispensable, and he'll have you do your dirty work and then let you take the fall, throw you under the bus. All these idioms. Okay, but. Okay, now, so if it's the Malbim's interpretation that he's trusting you to come back, so then he does care about you well enough to be invested in you. Or the way I was saying it is, if he is trustworthy, if it's someone who doesn't want to lie to you, then that means that they have a certain regard for your well-being, and they won't let you knowingly get you into harm's way. And then Rifki added these points that this is especially this point here, that it's talking to the sender that you really need to do a background check and assume the worst. That's why I don't know how many of you have ever had your first job where they like make you do a criminal background check and like, who do you think I am? But no, they need to do that because a company can get really, really messed up if this is a bad thing. It's like they are heeding this pasuk. Okay. Then there was David's idea, which is that if you are a messenger for a Russia, you will eventually be corrupted by them or come into their circle of harm. And if you are a messenger for Emunim, so then that's what we didn't really answer. Okay, but the first half is really good because that's why it's ambiguous about a Malach who is a Russia or a Malach of a Russia. And the answer is, if you're a Malach for a Russia, you will become a Russia. Okay, then we had Chizkiyahu, who was differentiating between private enterprises or public enterprises, which is a very good.
Can I finished? I think my phone died when I was doing it before, but I wrote a pretty short, it's like three sentences.
Okay, so I'll take that at the end. I just want to get all this in one shot so I can find it afterwards and listen to it as one summary of all the ideas. Okay, so then we had Ariel's idea, which is that this is a Malach vis-a-vis Malach Russia vis-a-vis Shlichus, which is that his goals are at odds with the mission. And even if he's a good person and he's not doing anything evil, the misalignment is going to lead to Ra, and that's going to be bad for him and bad for you. And so too, if he is a Malach Emunim, if he's trustworthy, then he will actually improve on the mission that you're doing. And then we had Metzudas David, who seems similar, and then the Rבינו Yona, who is about the quality you need to look for beyond the capability to do the shlichus, is whether they are trustworthy to be discreet in terms of not revealing information that could lead to misunderstandings or vulnerabilities, and that they will actually, ideally, actually look out for your interests. Okay, yeah, Chizkiyahu.
Okay, so I wrote this actually, and I think this might really be pretty much what Isaiah was saying, but you can tell me if there's any differences.
Sure.
To the faithful Malach, I forget, what was the word? The faithful
Emunim.
Okay, yeah, to the right,
Shiur.
but they're just Emunim what? Emunayim, what was it?
Shiur Emunim.
Oh, okay, fine. So to them, you are not just an asset, you are part of the very mission that you're serving. So you're part of them. And so if you fall into any kind of danger or peril, they have an interest in saving you. Whereas to the Malach Rasha, who ultimately only cares about his own profit, you are just an asset or a tool. And should you fall into any peril, you cannot rely on him because now you're in a liability and another cost. And so that's kind of what I was trying to focus on in the private aspect. That's why I was saying that, only because I was speaking more to his motivation for why there's a certain point that it just doesn't make logical sense for him to care about you, to save you.
Okay, good. I think that is a much more articulated version of the idea you were saying. Oh, I wanted one more, which I saw. I want to look at the Meiri's Derech Nister, okay, really quickly, because he says something about the Yetzer Hara, okay? He says, O Nefarish B'derech Nister, Shahamalach HaMechuven B'Rishona B'Brias Adam. So the evil evil Malach, who's the only evil Malach? That's the evil Malach in a person's creation. Lefi Hizdakus Komro Imiyos Makabel Tsura Nikra Malach Hashem. So it's talking about if your physicality is refined to receive the Tzelem Elokim, then it's called a Malach of Hashem. Lefi Devekusu B'Chomer Hutzrach Lihishtatef Bo Im Re'ehu Hagadol Mimeno V'Nikra Melech Zakin V'Nikra Ksil V'Oyev V'Satan V'Kyotu Be'Elumin Shemos. But if you are too influenced by your material nature, then you're going to be called the old king or the fool or the enemy or the accuser or the Satan and other things like that. And the bad malach is going to seduce the good malach and turn him off of the good path. Chazal, in the famous Gemara that's the basis of Shalom Aleichem, call him the malach ra, call the Yetzer Hara the malach ra. Two malachim accompany a person every day, one good and one bad. And even though they call him evil, they place him among the malachei hasharis, the ministering angels. Because when God is gracious to him, meaning when you align your physicality with God's will, then it actually does serve God. echad tov, echad ra. Both of them serve God. Sorry, I just read that. Kishiyichna le'echav, when it subordinates itself to its fellow, to the good yitzer, v'yane amen, and answers amen l'dvarav yikra az tzir emunim. Then it's called a tzir emunim. Aval kishiyiksha libo yachnia es echav tachtav. But when the yitzer hara hardens its heart and subdues its brother underneath it, Yikare malach rasha v'ra, then it's called a bad malach. V'sofa yipol v'ra, and then it'll end up falling into bad. Rotzolomar yechane v'yipol v'ra v'chol kedoshim imo. That's a quote from a pasuk that I don't know. V'hefech chonim malach Hashem saviv l'rev v'yachatzeim. And the opposite is this pasuk in Tehillim, which the Rambam quotes in Mezuzah. The malach of Hashem encamps and surrounds those who fear God and releases them. So the way the Meiri is reading the pasuk is an evil malach, which means that if you take your physical urges and desires and you subordinate your mind to them, so then you're going to end up falling into bad, which is easy to understand because then you're going to employ your mind to make bad decisions. Okay. You let your mind be hijacked and you're going to rationalize the bad decisions. But if you align your psyche with God's will, then it will heal. That seems to be an idea of channeling your yetzer hara. But the question is like, what's the chiddush? But what's interesting about it, I think methodologically, is he's not saying that this is the yetzer hara and the yetzer tov. He's saying both these are about the yetzer hara. That if you channel your yetzer hara, if you let your yetzer hara take over your yetzer tov, which I guess is being a bad malach because it's not doing what it should be doing, so then that will lead you to harm. That's all of Mishlei. But if you let it be a good thing, then it'll heal. If you channel it properly, it'll heal. Yeah, Chizkiel?
I want to like this because I love everything the Meiri always says, and I always feel like
I know.
he's missing. I'm just trying to understand, how does he transition? I can see obviously the first part being a yetzer hara, that's obvious, but how does the second half also show that?
So he says that oops. He said something about the tzir. Hold on.
Is it just because it's is he speaking in the sense of the yetzer hara is the part of you that gets you to act? That's in the very broad sense, anytime that you're doing any kind of physical actions, you need to harness your yetzer hara, and then there's a positive way and a negative way you can use.
Yeah, it seems to be the type of thing that he's saying. Yeah, not sure exactly where he gets it from though. Yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand your question. I mean, it seems pretty good what he's saying. I mean, I don't know what exactly is bothering you about it.
The only thing that's bothering me is it does not seem to be that much of a chiddush.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, I hear that.
Yeah. And look, it's a chiddush for people who don't learn Mishlei because the chiddush is that you channel your desires in a way and it'll actually improve your life if you channel it through Mishlei.
I mean, as opposed to meaning I guess if we're not learned, I guess you could say that the chiddush is, that you think that all yetzer haras are bad,
right?
But if you just channel it in a specific way, that could, instead of repressing your yetzer hara, then it'll be fine.
Exactly. Yeah. Rivki?
Yeah, I don't know if this will add anything or take us in any direction, but I guess it kind of reminds me of before Adam and Chava sinned, and I wonder if that's also maybe where the chiddush is coming from, because, and maybe this is exactly what Ariel was just saying, but I feel like the way that we live our lives today, even if you're learning, I think it's very hard to think of yourself as only having one or the other. I think we very much are aware that we have both, but that the yetzer hara, it feels it's always something you have to be on guard about, and that you can't necessarily change it into something that could serve Hashem. So I think maybe just talking about the nature of man versus what we, I guess, kind of were intended to be, and that I guess it's still possible in a way to kind of get back to that original version.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that is a good application. Okay,
I have an example of that,
Sure.
a system that I personally use.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm in a situation where my office they go to a lot of non-kosher restaurants, and I just have to go with them.
Yeah.
So I obviously I don't eat anything. But afterwards, like if I have time and if I'm driving through like like Grill Point, like in Queens or like wherever, like I purposely get like a nice meal just
Nice.
so I
Okay,
can like
that's good. No,
satisfy that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good example. Yeah, good.
It's-
Yeah, I was kind of curious. I don't know if you have time for this, but the whole like a lot of the time while we were talking about this, the story of Nero, who was sent to like shoot the arrow, and then he ended up deciding to convert. I don't know if I kept like really like resonating a lot. Like I wondered almost if this is like if that could be like an example of this kind of thing where you know he saw himself in some way like having to, obviously not through to Hashem directly, but that he was like sort of bringing like a negative kind of um speech or news or whatever, and then he decided to like change to like joining like the Jewish people. I don't know, there was something about it that like
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I don't remember the story well enough to confirm or disconfirm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the recording now, and I'm gonna say at the end of the recording that I did do the summary, but it was like 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago. So if you're future me and you're listening to this, then the summary is like earlier. Okay, let me stop the recording. How do I stop the recording?